أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. We're going to be speaking about how to perform wudu. How to perform wudu, not necessarily just the way it's written in the Risala Amaliya. In other words, I'm not just going to be looking at Fatwa 1, Fatwa 2, Fatwa 3 that says how to do wudu. No. We're going to be looking at the Quranic verse in the Quran that tells us how to do wudu. And we're going to be looking at the difference of opinion of maybe some of our maraja with certain pieces of that ayah. You know, why this marja said this as opposed to another marja said something else within that same ayah. Also, we're going to be looking at why the Shia and the Sunnah differed in wudu. I think we've all been downstairs and we've seen our brothers do the wudu the opposite way or in a different way that we do it. Although they go back to the same ayah. And they're using the same verse in the Quran. So why did they say something and why did we say something, and where is it that we clash, and where's the difference of opinion? Simply put, wudu is very, very simple. Ghaslatan wa mashatan. Ibn Abbas is the cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He describes wudu very simply. The wudu of Muhammad is very simple. Al-wudu, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Al-wudu ghaslatan wa mashatan. Wudu is two washings in a sense, and two wipings. You just wash twice and wipe twice. Now, that's a very, very broad statement. Now we ask the details. Like, what are the details? What do I wash? Where do I wash? How do I wash? What do I wash with? Right? You didn't really tell me with what do I wash with. Okay? And those details we're going to look into today. So that's a very simple, as we said, very broad description of wudu. For us to actually understand what wudu is, we ask these three questions. Number one, what are we washing and what are we wiping? Number two, from where to where? You can tell me the arm. Like, is the hand. Is the hand from here to here? Is the hand from here to here? Is the hand from here to here? What is classified as the hand? Or where on the hand do I wash? Right? Or wipe when it comes to the head and hands. And three, does the direction of the washing or the wiping matter? Okay, those three questions we want to ask. And with these three questions, you get a full idea of what wudu is supposed to look like and how it's supposed to be done. Usually in fiqh, the best way to show the fatwa is by the use of charts, by the use of something visual, okay? And this chart is the best description of how to do wudu. I'm not telling you do 1, 2, 3, 4. No. Here's a chart. Go by the chart. طيب? The part to wash, the first one is the face. طيب? Wash or wipe, obviously you wash the face. طيب? From where to where? That's a good question, because what defines the face? I know we're university level, right? We have a broad understanding of what the face means, but what are the actual limits to the face? What is the face? What are we talking about here? Okay? When we come to the ulama, they say the face has two limits, length and width. طيب? What are those limits? When it comes to the length, we're talking from the hairline down to the chin. That's the length that you have to wash. طيب, the width, it's if you take your middle finger and your thumb and put it on your face. This entire area needs to be washed when it comes to the width. So again, length from the hairline to the chin, and the width, usually it's between the two cheekbones, and if you want to be very exact, it's between the thumb and the middle finger. What if somebody has an odd hairline? What if somebody's hairline starts here? What do? I'm not looking at anyone specific. What if this person has a bad hairline? Okay? What do we do for that person? We say, what's the normal place where the hairline starts? Right? Usually a normal person's hairline doesn't start from back here or back here, right? Usually starts just above the forehead. So for that person, they say the normal place where the hairline would be, they begin from there. Okay? Very good. And what direction? Downwards, from the top to the bottom. Very good. Arms, we say with the arms, we have both of them. Which comes first, right or left? Which one do we wash first?
Your right.
Your right hand first, then your left. Right. From the elbow down to the fingertips. Also from the elbow down to the fingertips. Here, our ulama say you should wash just above the elbow. just above the elbow. Why do you think you should wash just above the elbow? Ihtiyat. Ihtiyat, so out of precaution. Okay? Some of our ulama say no, you have to. It's almost wajib for you to wash just above the elbow instead of at the elbow itself. Why do you think? Because a matter of precaution is not necessarily something that's obligatory, logically speaking. It's precaution. You should or you should not do it, doesn't matter. It's a chance that you're taking. Okay? I'm talking, some of our ulama said you have to start above. Although it's clearly put that you have to start at the limit itself is at the elbow. Why? Think of it logically. I don't want you to think of it, Quran or Hadith. Think of it logically. Now. Sure. But I want you to think outside the box as to why one should wash above the elbow, not necessarily at the elbow.
Water flows downwards.
Sure. You guys are all pretty close, okay? In fiqh, we have something called al-muqaddimah al-almiyya. What does al-muqaddimah al-almiyya mean? Al-muqaddimah al-almiyya means that if your limit is here, you have to be sure that you're reaching that limit. You have to be 100% sure that you're reaching that limit, okay? And the way that you are 100% sure that you're reaching that limit is to go above it a little bit. Because if you go right to that limit, you're not 100% sure you got to that limit. There could be a little bit that you're missing, that you don't actually see, you don't actually understand. So you should go above that limit, okay? And this is one of these things that are used a lot. So in fiqh and wudu it's used, in ghusl it's used, in hijab itself is used. In hijab, it's used as well. They say the muqaddim al-almiyya says you should go past. So if it's at the wrist that a woman should cover, she should go a little past the wrist, which our sisters do very well, okay? So al-muqaddim al-almiyya is something that is used in fiqh, it's used here as well. Okay? Very good. Just simply put, go past because so that you are 100% sure. Now. You don't necessarily estimate. You'd say a person, when I had my hairline, the right hairline, where was it? Okay, it was right here, right? A person's normal hairline, where would it be? Right here. So they go a little bit past. They would go also a little bit past in that case, so they're sure. Okay, good question. Type for the head, I wipe. Where do I wipe in the head? Technically, the head is all of this. Where do I wipe? Yes, Muhammad. You read it? Good job. Muhammad could read. Okay? First quarter of the head. So if I was to take a person's head, okay, don't make fun of my drawing. But let's just say this is a person's face and head, okay? Whatever. Don't make fun of my drawing. Okay? Listen, his hair starts here and his hair ends here. Take notes, Muhammad, and draw it the exact way I drew it. Okay? So let's say this is a person's head and face. Okay? That's Muhammad Rumiyya. And if you take this portion and cut it into quarters. Okay? So 1, 2, that's thirds. There you go. Whatever. Okay? That's quarters. So we have quarter 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright? This portion is the one that needs to be wiped. Yes. This is his notes. This is Munkhal. Okay? This is a side view. Yes. Alright? So this is the portion that needs to be wiped. The first quarter of that. Usually it's right here. Don't sit there, trying to measure out your head. It's right here. Okay? Do you have to wipe it all? No. You don't have to necessarily wipe it all. The wiping has to happen in this area, in this general area. It doesn't necessarily have to be the whole part. Okay? Just as long as you're wiping in that area. Okay? Direction, does it matter for wiping? No. And I put a star next to it because next slide we're going to mention something about this. But direction does not matter. So technically, guys, please just 1 second. I'm going to wreck my hair for you guys. Just be dead. Okay? I can go like this. Wa'adi. That's not a problem. I can go upwards. Okay? Depending on the marja, I can go upwards. Right? And the feet, very simple. Okay? From the toes to the ankles, and you can go opposite way as well. Right? Now, on that there's a difference of opinion. So some maraja say you can go in the opposite direction, some say that you can't. So very simply put, just do it the normal way that we all know how to do wudu. Okay? As we said, when it comes to the issues of wudu, there is a difference of opinion with the specific details. And so out of this precaution, just do it the way that it's normally done. Okay? Perfect. Other details for each step of wudu will be covered later on. So we're going to be covering with what you can or cannot do wudu. We're going to be covering, for example, if you had a bunch of cups of water, one of them was nijis, and you can't do wudu with anything nijis, right? If you had a bunch of them and you don't really know which one to use, what do you do in that case? Do you do tayammum and just totally walk away from wudu? Or do you actually use one of the cups, right? We're going to look into these different ahkam, okay? But for now that we know how the Shias do wudu, let's compare it with the other opinion, the other side, and see what they say, okay? So we're going to be analyzing the ayah of wudu, inshallah. When we analyze it, we're going to be analyzing three topics, we're going to be asking three questions. The first one, is there a time for wudu? When it comes to the ayah, we can analyze or answer potentially these three questions with the ayah. The first one, is there a time for wudu? And I'll explain what that means in a little bit. Number two, what is washed and what is wiped? We see some of our Sunni brothers and sisters are washing their feet. Like, why? Is it just because they just want to wash their feet, or do they actually have an argument for such a thing? Three, does the verse include direction to wash or wipe it or not? Because we see them going upwards. I don't know if you've seen that. Instead of us going downwards, they go up. Like, why? They actually go back to the verse and say, oh, here in the verse it says to wash upwards. And we're going to see why. Okay, and we're going to see our argument opposing that. So the verse of wudu, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. Very, very simple. Very simple. O you who have believed, or you who have believed, when you rise to perform prayer, wash your face and your forearms to the elbows, and wipe over your heads and your feet to the ankles. Okay? Very, very simple. But you're going to see how we're going to dissect it and look at each part by itself. First, the time. This difference of opinion we're going to be talking about more within the Shia sect, where you have some ulama say that there's an actual time for wudu, and some ulama say technically there's no one specific time for wudu. In other words, they differed on whether, let's just say, Sheikh Abdullah here woke up in the morning, he prayed Salat al-Subh with one wudu, and managed to keep his wudu all the way to Maghrib time, for example. Does he have to change his wudu, or is he good? In other words, when it says in the ayah, O you who have believed, when you rise to perform prayer, what is this meaning of the word rise here? Can Ahmad rise towards Salat al-Dhuhr if the time for Salat al-Dhuhr has not come in yet? No. Right? He can't walk towards Salat al-Dhuhr in a sense, if Salat al-Dhuhr is not wajib upon him yet. So when the ayah says, rise towards your prayer, or if you want to rise towards prayer, what does that actually entail? Are we saying that for a person to do wudu for the upcoming prayer, the time for that prayer has to have set in? Or is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala trying to say something different? Okay? Some of our ulama said exactly this, that the time for salat has to have come in for you to do wudu for that salat. Okay? For our purpose, for our maraja, if I'm not mistaken, they're all on the same page with this, that no, you can have wudu from the morning up until night and you're good as long as you don't break it with one of the four that we spoke about. Okay? Here's where the Shia-Sunni conflict begins. Okay? This is the focal point. Wash your faces and your forearms to the elbows, and wipe over your heads and your feet to the ankles. Okay? So here, I don't know if you guys have read the English translations. Usually they put and wash after the bolded and. They put and wash your feet. Okay, I don't know if you guys read that or not. When I got this specific translation, it actually said wash. I had to erase it. Okay? Where is the difference of opinion? They said that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was speaking about wiping, right? And then He put this and afterwards, and then He began speaking about the feet. We don't say that this and is referring to the clause just before it. Rather, we say this and is referring to the statement, to the clause much, much before it, where it spoke about washing. So, let me give you an example. Okay, so let me give you an example. When I say, wash your hands, okay, and wipe your face, and I don't know, something else, and feet, whatever, okay? This is not necessarily for wudu specifically, but just the clause, just the statement, okay? So, they're saying, when it says wash your hands, we get the idea wash, no problem, very simple, okay? And it says, and wipe your, wipe your face. I don't have my coffee yet, so you guys can't make fun of me. It's on its way, good. It's on the table? Good, hella about that. And wipe your face and, what did we say? Feet? Good. So, wash your hands, and wipe your face and feet. They said this and is not referring to the hukum, to the ruling of wiping, or the act of wiping. This and is referring to the act of washing. Okay? So the and is not going back to the closest clause, or closest ruling, or closest action. Rather, it's going back to the one that was mentioned in the beginning, which is the wash. Okay? Now, the Shi'as, they came and said, no. Grammatically speaking, the and always goes back to the nearest idea. And that's logical. And so when I say this command, you're not going to go wash your feet. Why? Because wallah wash was in the beginning and I'm going back. No. You go back to the nearest idea that's closest to this and. Okay? And this is logical. And in grammar, and the Sheikh here can help me, can say much better than I can, but in grammar, we say this waw, this and, always goes back to the closest idea and does not go back to the farther one. And that's, again, very logical. Okay? Last one. Okay, تفضلي. Oh, sorry. Nah. Yes. This is what we're going to talk about now. Okay? The Shi'as, they said no. You have to start from the elbows and go down to the fingertips. The Shi'as, all the Shi'as say, start from the elbow, go down to the fingertips. The opposite. Okay? They say go downwards. The Sunnah, they do the opposite. In that sense, they go upwards. Okay? We go downwards. Now, why? Exactly what Ghadir said. So the Sunnah, they come and look at this ayah and they say, look, wash your faces and your forearms to the elbow. To the elbow. So they say this too. Guys, if you can just take a seat, please.
Sorry,
Habib, thank you. We say this too, okay? Or they say this too is speaking about direction. So it's like I'm saying, for example, let me give you an example. Go to Toronto. Go from Windsor to Toronto. Here the directionality in the statement is very clear that you're going towards Toronto. So if you can take the word to and put in towards, it's going to show directionality. So they said this to means towards. Okay, so it's showing directionality. So begin with your fingertips and end at your elbow. The Shi'as, they came forward and said no. This to is not speaking about directionality. Rather, it's speaking about a specific area to cover. For example, I come to one of the brothers and I say, mop the floor. Tayyib, from where to where? I say, from the door to half the room. Does that mean he necessarily has to begin from the door and make his way to half the room? No, I'm speaking about a specific area to cover. I do not care about directionality, as long as you get that area. Now, you say, Tayyib, where do we get this idea of down from the elbow to the fingertips. We say the riwayat came forward and told us that there's directionality. But it's opposite to what they said. So we go back to the riwayat to get these specific details. But in the actual Quranic ayah, it does not necessarily tell us from this, from this direction or from this place to that place with a specific direction. It says this specific area. Yes. السبب؟ أولاً, so he's saying what's the reason? Number one, because the riwayah came forward and said that, and it is from the umur al-tawqifiyya, which our minds may not necessarily understand fully. Now, if you want to talk to me biology, you want to talk to me about these other wisdoms, I'm not necessarily the person to tell you, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who have done research in this and have found some sort of benefit to washing from the elbow down. Okay? But as we said, umur tawqifiyya, it's set in stone. This is what it is and this is how it's going to be. Okay? Any questions? صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد